Hello and happy Friday to all of you. Welcome to my channel. My name is Ellen. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. So I'm going to cover my latest NDE, which is near-death experience that I had when I was 62. If you follow me, you will also realize that I have posted a few videos of mine. This is actually my most recent near-death experience. I've had four, and hopefully this will be the last one that I will be talking about. I had one near-death experience at the age of 10, then at the age of 30, then at the age of 50, and then at 62, which was my most recent one. At that time, I lived in LA and outside of LA, and I was on my way to Ventura. And if any one of you has driven on 101, you kind of have an idea on the traffic and what it can be like. Although that day I had only worked half a day, since I was going to go to the airport later on that afternoon to pick up my daughter. Um, and her children from the airport. So anyway, I was on my way to Ventura, having to drop off some furniture that I had in the back of my car. And as I was going about 62 miles, so 65 the speed limit, I was going about 62. I then came towards the exit ramp, and I'm going to explain it to you now, so bear with me. So I came to the exit ramp, and there was heavier traffic, but they were all going about 35 or so miles. And so I slowed down my car. And as I was exiting, I was on the inside, so next to a long wall that extends to the exit. And that was me in the blue car right there. And I was driving. I was just going with the traffic. It was a long exit, and I was going about. I'm thinking about 35 or so, like everyone else, but I kept my distance. And all of a sudden, this car in front of me came to a complete halt, complete stop. I have no idea why. I'm still asking myself these days why that would be. So, anyway, my car actually, I went along the wall somehow, squeezed between the wall. I could see the wall. I thought I'm gonna slide against it somehow. Anyway, I came around. I was lifted up. My car was lifted up, and I was placed right in front of the car that had just stopped. It just so happened that the car in front of me was just moving on because apparently they all had slowed down, which I didn't see from back here. So, like I said, the car took basically a right and then squeezed between this car and the wall, and walls never give. And then the car lifted up and put me right in the perfect position, not in any way tilted, but just right in front. It was like it lifted up and boom, it put me right in front of the other car. I looked in my rear view mirror at that time, and the lady was just going like, and so was I. I was actually shaking. The most interesting thing right here is that when I looked down on my lap, I had my right hand on my lap, completely relaxed, and my left hand supposedly did all the maneuvering. I am right-handed, and I did feel that something else had steered the car because it was such a movement, such quickness. I mean, I've driven in Italy for years, so I consider myself a good driver, but certainly not a driver that can do, a miracle kind of on the highway. I don't consider myself coming up with things that I can't, even today, can't really explain how I ended up right in front of the other car with inches, just inches. I really thought at one point when I was up in the air, not high, but I was above ground, how I was moving to the right, then right in front of the car, and it just placed me right in front. And the other car, while I was still in air, I saw the other car moving ahead, almost, like making space for me to land. I Today I'm still really, really baffled about how it all came about. I mean, I realize sometimes, when you are trying to get from point A to point B and you on a time schedule, that perhaps sometimes, we might not consider our distance, but since the traffic was moving along, I really thought I had given plenty of space. What I do remember is that I was on my brake. I mean, I heard the noise from the brake, how it was hitting the pavement. And even weeks later, I still saw that long, almost rubber like brake, what do you call it? When you're braking and it just really kind of takes some away from your tire, because I was just standing on my brake because I knew if I wasn't going to, I'm going to hit somebody. But I was still going too fast because this lady in front of me had come to a complete stop, and I still don't know really exactly what had happened. But like I said, I was lifted up and I was placed right in front of the other car. So I ended up right in front, and I was just inches away from the car in front of me and inches away from the car behind me. The other cars is probably wrong. They already had moved on. So I don't know exactly what happened. What I do know, and I must say that from all the experiences I've had, I think I took the most away from this one, to be honest with you. Because when I went along with the traffic, and then the next chance I got when I got off the ramp, I actually pulled over to the right, and I was just shaking. I mean, I was so, because I had just comprehended what all had happened, but yet I couldn't explain it because I felt that there was another force taken over the steering wheel. There's no way that I did all that with my left, because when I drive with any hand, if I just use one hand, usually I always have two hands on my steering wheel. But if I were to take a zip or what have you of something, I usually hold it in my left hand and I drive with my right hand. But that day, for some reason, I used my left hand for the whole maneuvering. And I remember the wheel, the steering wheel, just moving ever so quickly. And like I said, I don't know how it all came about. What I remember was that when I was pulling over later and I was, just shaking all over, I also felt goosebumps. I mean, like a tingling from the top of my head, and I know that was God, from the top of my head all the way down to my toes. And it was just such an amazing feeling. And I was ready to cry, but it was just like, be still. That's what I heard. It was just like, be still. And I was all of a sudden I've just felt this, just being really relaxed and so grateful. And I was just like driving to this lady's house with the furniture I had in the car later on. And I was just like saying hallelujah the whole way. I was just like praising the Lord, and I was just so happy that I actually made it through this insane almost accident where I could have been killed, where I could have had been, where the lady in front of me could have had been killed, maybe even that person in front. I mean, there was so much potential for a huge accident. And somehow, like I said, my car was lifted off the pavement and placed in front of the other car. And like I said, until today, I'm still really trying to understand how it all happened. What I do know now is that I am that there's a higher purpose for my life. There must be, because if you have been saved 4 times from from dying, there's a reason for that. And I'm thinking all of you have been through some similar things where you had almost an accident and what have you. It was just that I thought that this one, I've had many almost ones, but nothing like this one ever. And I must say that I am so grateful. And I have since then, I mean, honestly, for years. Actually, I've been following, the Lord, obviously, and I'm really listening to my intuition. And I really do feel that I am here on a spiritual journey. It's like an assignment, a spiritual assignment. And it came to me the other day when I was praying. I was in prayers, and then afterwards I meditated some, and it came to me that I am on a spiritual assignment. And I'm so convinced of it now that I actually changed it on my YouTube channel too, to where I really feel like that my path is destined. And the reason why I moved here to Tucson not so long ago was because I was listening. I have been listening, and I moved so many times due to the fact that I'm really trying to be obedient, that when I'm being told it is time to move on, I just kind of leave it to the universe to direct me on where I need to go and what I need to do and how I'm going to go about it. Um, there's always been, for me, it's always been a clear path, so to speak. Um, once I have the understanding on where I need to go. Money has always been provided, housing has always been provided, jobs have always been provided when I was following. And I'm thinking that all of you also have been on a path and at times got off your path. I know I have for myself when things got a little bumpy. And uh, I'm thinking this was close to being bumpy. It could have been. Now, but like I said, this was my latest one. I actually never even told my children on how close I was to not being here. So, like I said, I was 62 and I was in LA at that time. And when I picked up my daughter that afternoon, I mean, I was beyond, happy to see her and being able to embrace her and the grandchildren. Um, at the same time, I didn't mention anything because I felt like it was a closed book, so to speak. It was a closed chapter, um, and I needed to understand that there was a higher purpose and that I needed to be obedient, extra obedient moving forward, which I have been. And so now I am in Arizona, of all places. And yes, it is very warm here, obviously, but I know that there is a reason for my life. And I'm hoping that this story perhaps reminds you of some of the stories that you perhaps have had, experiences that you have had, where you felt like it was a super, super close call to perhaps leaving this beautiful earth, but that there's a reason why you are here. And I would urge you to figure out why it is that you are here. I know that for myself, I can only obviously speak of myself or close friends who have shared things with me, but I must say that for myself, um, it is a journey, and I know that there's a greater plan. And the reason why I've had so many different types of experience and moved around so many times and being part of the military family, and been lucky to be part of that and have met so many different people. I now am on a journey to and I gathered all this information so I can share it with the lovely people like you. So hopefully you don't have to repeat the things that I lived through. And because I've had many wake-up calls, and I'm sure you have too. But I'm thinking there is a reason why some move a lot and experience a lot, and others not so much. Others stay in one place. I know that the other day I spoke to a very young man who lives in Arizona, and he asked me where he's from and what have you. And I asked him what his ambition was down the road, and he said he doesn't like to fly. He has never flown. He has no he has he yeah, he has no interest in flying, nor can he swim, so he stays in Arizona. Interesting, isn't that? But anyway, so like I said, we all have our paths, and so I'm hoping that this was a a different version of a video. And like always, please like and share if you care, and also, of course, subscribe. Thank you so